In the 5+ years that I've been farming, it really was my lowest point on the farm. Here I had spent thousands of dollars to buy this dog and bring her to our farm, and she's killing chickens. Her breeder is smearing me in blog posts. Half the internet is criticizing me for how horrible of a job I'm doing.
Abby had to be put in timeout because she started to try playing with chickens again.
And at the same time, I just couldn't bring myself to give away this dog. This is not what I had envisioned when I made the decision to bring a second livestock guardian dog to our farm and potentially start breeding my own puppies. You know, adding Toby Dog to our farm really was an important step in evolution. In one fell swoop, I effectively managed all of the predator problems we were having on our farm. And then simultaneously, I had gained this new best friend and sidekick who I could do absolutely everything around the farm with. Everything about that decision just seemed to work out perfectly. And so as time went on, I really was starting to say, wow, Toby's such a great dog. I would love to breed him. I'd love to maybe have breeding puppies that are livestock guardian dogs trained for farms and homestead be a part of our farm business. And you know, raising a livestock guardian dog really isn't that hard, so why not I just add a second one? We are currently still actively looking for a female Maremma partner, one that would be a suitable breeding partner for Mr. Toby Dog here. And she's got to reach maturity, so it's going to be a couple years before we have puppies on the farm. But if I want to responsibly breed Toby, there's actually another step I have to go through in the process. He's got to have a health screening for any sort of genetic carriers and issues that he could have. Usually your vet has to wait until about 2 years before they can do that health screening. And the good news is, just last week was Toby Dog's 2nd birthday. We're gonna take him to the vet. We're gonna find out what information the vet has for us and really get to the bottom of the question, can Toby Dog be a father? Yeah, I'm talking about you, buddy. You might be siring some pups in the not too distant future. Are you excited about that? So Mr. Toby Dog, I think you recall a couple of weeks ago, I took you to the vet. And when I took you to the vet, they did some health checks on you because we want to make you a dad. So Toby Dog, it looks like the good news is all of your testing has come back very, very good. And that means that my buddy here is good to be siring puppy litters. And so that's when I began the search to find the dog that would ultimately become Abby. My plan was originally to actually have a puppy at this point, but unfortunately, all of those plans have fallen through. You see, Toby Dog has some very diverse genetic lines, and because of that, it's actually made finding a genetically different dog here on the East Coast very hard. And so I am searching far and wide right now for that partner, but as soon as I have a line on her, we will be bringing her to the farm, and Toby Dog here will, number one, have a partner in crime to work the farm with, and hopefully, in a couple of years, we'll also have a breeding partner. I looked for breeders far and wide to find somebody who could be a genetic match for Toby Dog. Toby Dog actually has a pretty diverse lineage where one half of his parentage actually comes from breeders out in Italy. The other half of his parentage on his father's side comes from some very reputable breeders down in the Virginia area. And those two mixes of genetics actually seem to connect to a lot of the breeders of Maremmos all across the United States. And so pretty quickly into the process, I knew I wasn't gonna find somebody East Coast, and I started looking far and wide, and ultimately I found what I thought was going to be a genetically distinct dog all the way out in California, which I guess compared to the runner-up, which was in Alaska, that's not that far away. Good morning. I have got some crazy exciting news. I've been waiting like very long to share it with you. So Toby, I've got some news for you, pal. Yeah, I got some big news. Yeah, that's right. Pretty soon we're getting another Maremma here on the farm. That's right. On a farm out in California, last weekend, some little tiny puppies were born. It was 4 males and 4 females to a beautiful mother Maremma. And so yeah, one of those females is going to be coming here to Goldshaw Farm. I don't know which one yet. They're all looking adorable. So what happens is the breeder will try to match the personality of the puppy to the farm that they're going to. And so because that puppy is going to ultimately be a partner of Toby's, and because that puppy is going to be here on a farm with a lot of poultry, versus say like a farm where they're working with like a lot of sheep or goats or something, she's gonna be keeping a careful eye out for the right type of dog. We're gonna wait until the puppy is somewhere between 3 and 4 months old. So in terms of like socialization and health and, you know, just learning how to be a good dog, spending that little extra time with their mother is usually a good thing for the puppy. Which does bring up one problem I have to solve. I've got to figure out how to get a Maremma puppy here to our farm in northern Vermont, all the way from like Central California. I know you can like ship him with an airline, but I don't know. I don't really like the idea of just taking a young puppy like that, ripping it away from its mother, and then tossing it in a cargo hold of an airplane. So one solution I have been thinking about is potentially road trip. So who knows what this winter will hold. It'll probably be, yeah, mid-late January at the earliest before all of that goes down.
Several months later.
So we've been getting a lot of questions about when the puppy's coming here, and the puppy's coming very soon. As far as the puppies themselves and the puppy herself, doing really well. I mean, look at them. They are just adorableness running around a farm, doing really well. And so for the last few months, we've been watching these puppies very carefully, and we've seen pictures and video and watched them grow up, and they look adorable. And now our puppy specifically is ready to be picked up from the farm in California and brought here to Goldshaw Farm in Vermont. You know, a lot of people will bring a puppy home from the mom after about 8 weeks, and we've been actually intentionally waiting a little bit more than 4 months. That ensures that the puppy gets to grow a bit healthier before it has to travel and be separated from its mother. And so my plan has been that I was gonna fly out to California, actually go from Boston Logan Airport on a direct flight to Los Angeles, LAX, fly in, rent a car, drive out to Lenmore, California, which is where the breeder is, which is kind of like right in the middle of California, I guess closer to Fresno than anywhere else. I made the choice to fly into LAX because I could get pretty cheap direct flights to and from Logan, and I wanted to have a direct flight back with the puppy, because the plan was I was gonna get one of those little puppy carriers and pop her inside that and suffer the cross-country flight, but get across, get to Logan, get back in my truck and drive back to the farm, and everything would eventually work out. But my friends, we have now encountered a problem with our great puppy smuggling plan. You see, our puppy, because she is a little bit over 4 months old, has actually grown too large to be carried on a flight, like to be like carry-on luggage. You know, they actually have doggy weight limits, and at this point, I couldn't even try to cheat. She like far exceeds those doggy weight limits, which I admittedly probably should have put a little bit more thinking into ahead of time. But, you know, that forethought is usually not my strong suit, isn't it, folks? Now, another option would be I could try to check the puppy as luggage. Some airlines would actually let you like put them in the cargo hold essentially, but I will admit that that approach makes me kind of uncomfortable for a few reasons. And far and away the biggest reason is the puppy would essentially spend about 7 hours, 8 hours even, and potentially even longer if there are flight delays, holed up in a small crate, and I can't control the climate, and it can potentially actually get really hot inside of there, and there's nobody monitoring or supervising her, so something bad could happen and we wouldn't know until we landed in Boston, and then my heart would be broken. And so for me, that just was kind of a non-starter idea. And now given that we can't check the puppy on the flight and have me carry her, nor am I willing to let her travel as cargo, it really leaves only one method of transportation to bring her from Lenmore, California to Peacham, Vermont. And I'm pretty sure you guys have probably deduced that that one way to get her from here to there would be by car. And so I actually got in touch with a woman who is just super cool and super responsible and is very much a dog lover. She's in the process of picking up the puppy girl and bringing her here to the farm. It looks like Olivia, our puppy courier, just checked into the airport in Denver. Our puppy courier, her name is Olivia. She's super nice, super responsible. I know she's gonna do a great job. She's actually based in Connecticut, and so she's flying. She's got a connecting flight in Denver before she heads out to California, and then she's gonna be hopping in the car and driving all the way back. I know you guys are super excited about the puppy arriving. I know Toby Dog is super excited about the puppy arriving, and I am super excited about the puppy arriving. I know one animal who's not probably excited about the puppy arriving is little Ginny. Ginny, do you think you and the puppy are gonna be friends? I know you and Toby have been mixing it up lately, but I think you're gonna be friends. Toby, I know you're excited. Yes, you are. So the pickup has been made. Oh boy, the pickup has been made. But Olivia's saying that she's really scared, which I guess is understandable. But here's a video, let's look. Got a harness on her. Go.
So big. Hello.
Hey, Olivia.
Hi, how are you?
Not too bad, how are you doing?
I'm good.
How are things going? Settling in?
Yeah, I think she's finally warming up to me. She was very scared at first.
Aw.
Like, she didn't even want, I would, like, put my hand out. She didn't even want to, like, go up to me. She's doing good. She's, like, I literally just picked her up. I can tell she's a little nervous, but she's okay.
So I just got an alert that Olivia is on her way with the puppy. They're a couple hours away, so it looks like they're gonna get here a little bit after dark. So there's not much to do right now, but I'm just hanging inside here with the barn cats. I will admit I'm super excited about this. I'm really looking forward to meeting the puppy. Of course, I'm really not looking forward to the weather that we got outside.
How's it going? Hi. Oh, hi. I know you're a little scared. Yeah, it's okay. Maybe she wants a treat. Come here, sweetie. It's okay. Yeah.
Good girl.
Well, I got you. She is shy.
She's very, very shy. This is how she was with me when I first picked her up. And now we're best friends, so.
I think I know what your name's gonna be.
What is it?
Oh, you curious?
Yeah.
So, her name is going to be Lady Abington de Mimsy Porpington, Duchess of Shawnee. We're just gonna call her Abby. Oh, it's okay, Abby. Come here. Oh boy, she's really nervous.
She likes the snow.
Yeah, you like this, huh? Shh, it's okay. Hey, sit, sit. It's okay. It's a friend. It's a friend. Come on, Abby. Come on, Abs.
Ooh, do you hear?
Yeah. Was she growling?
Yeah.
This might require a plan B. All right, Toby, I need you to be on your best behavior. Can you do that for me? Can you get your collar on, your leash? Okay, come on, buddy. We need you to be on your best behavior. She's a little nervous, so I'm hoping you can calm her down.
Hi.
Hey, buddy.
Good girl. Yeah. Sniff around. This is your new friend. Yay.
Yay. Oh.
Oh, good girl. Good girl. Oh, come on. It's okay, I promise.
Tobes, be a good boy. Yeah.
Wait, who's growling? She is,
She
right?
is. Getting to know each other. It's like a puppy date. What do you think, Toby? You're pretty good. You're okay with her. She passes your seal of approval.
Hey, it's okay.
Do you want to try to come with us? Come on, Abby. Okay, in you go.
This is your house. Good girl. Oh.
No, she's interested in Toby.
Yeah, that's good.
That's really good.
It's like someone that looks like me.
Oh, Abby, you're doing so good, girl. I'm very proud of you. Can I get in here and pet you while you do it? You can keep eating. It's okay. Nope. Okay.
Good girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, good girl. You're good. You're good. Oh. All right. No. That's a camera. You have to get used to that.
We got some water for you. Nice frosty bucket.
Are you thirsty?
You sit so prim and proper, like a good Lady Abington.
Yeah.
I'll check on Abby in a little bit and see how she's doing, and she'll have to report to duty for work tomorrow morning. Pretty much from day one on the farm, I was realizing that Abby was very different than Toby. Abby is getting much more settled here on the farm, a lot less skittish, a lot less scared. The last couple days I've been spending a lot of time with her.
Hey, Abby girl. You remember me? We're friends now. Uh-oh. Looks like Abby knocked over the chair that I've been keeping in here. Yeah, I've been hanging out here, spending good chunks of the day, just sitting outside with Abby, getting her comfortable with me.
You're settling in quite nicely.
You are such a sweetheart, you know that? So what I'm doing here is actually continuing to condition her to be okay with me around food. You actually don't want them to get like too food protective. You might have even noticed like when I first touched her, she jumped a little bit like she was startled. That was just simply because she's getting used to me being around her, but she's seeing that, oh no, she can eat and I'm not a threat, but I will take this away from her now. Nope. Sit, sit, sit. Good girl. Yes. That's also sort of how you reward when you start the training process, even though I'm still really just doing the familiarizing her with the farm process for right now. All right, Abby, you want to come with me? We're going to do chores. We can spend time with Toby. All right, Abby, we're going to even do chores today without the leash. You've been getting really good. Yeah, you're free. You're free. Yeah, I know. What are you going to do with all this open space? I know. It's impressive. And you got the barn cats and Toby Dog. Yeah, you can go say hi to the crew. She's the new girl. You gotta go to the bathroom? Okay. Oh, Abby, you just stepped in it. Wipe that off there, girlie. Ginny's still getting used to Abby. Ooh.
Actually, the other day I captured their first, at least to my knowledge, their first interaction, and Ginny was not happy with her at all. I know, there's big dogs everywhere and they're all scary.
But Abby, you're just a good little girl. Yes, you are. You're a nervous gal. Want some water? Those are chickens. We don't play with chickens. You're allowed to look at chickens. Toby's definitely giving her the once over. Abby, hey, Abby. No, no. Get out of there. There you go. All right, let's go, girl and boy.
Seems like he's keeping her in check, which is nice because I didn't have that luxury when Toby Dog was just a pup.
There you go, Toby. Yeah, Abby, you gotta stay away. You gotta learn. Toby is the dominant dog here, so you cannot get in the mix there. But I think you're good here for now by yourself.
Part of a livestock guardian dog training is actually teaching them to be okay by themselves. I mean, she'll pretty much always have Toby, but you want a dog that doesn't need human contact 24/7. You know, one of the things that most people don't appreciate about livestock guardian dogs is they are bred to be independent. They are bred not to necessarily seek a strong human connection like, say, a golden retriever. That's why they're so good at being left out there with their animals to protect them. But the behavior I was seeing out of Abby was so much more like a traditional house dog than a good farm livestock guardian dog. Abby Dog, on the other hand, was completely different personality-wise from Toby. Yes, they were both Maremas, but whereas Toby Dog was always very stubborn, very independent, and very chill, Abby Dog seemed to be extreme high energy and very much an attention seeker. You see, just because Abby is a special breed of dog known as a Maremma, which has good natural instincts to be a livestock guardian dog, it doesn't mean that she doesn't need to be trained. She still needs to be taught how to work with the poultry. She still needs to be taught some basic commands. I've held off on doing that for the moment because I wanted to make sure she was comfortable, but now that she is comfortable, or maybe overly comfortable, I can start teaching her the commands and I can start teaching her the basics. She was actually much easier to train when it came to obedience commands. You ready to come start doing farm chores with me? Let's go. Abby, you need to stick with me. Having Abby with me while I do my morning and evening farm chores is probably the most important part of training, or maybe second most important part of training. It helps create a bond between the dog and me. You know, I try to let her have as much experience around the farm as possible without getting into trouble. That's probably the most important thing when it comes to the training. As I start working with her and as I build up trust with her, she will ultimately get more and more freedom. But for right now, she's being very closely watched. And it's also really helpful to have Toby around because he's really showing her and modeling behaviors that I'm looking for out of a dog on the farm. Well, look at that. You're just sitting. Good girl, Abby. Yeah. I haven't even tried to work on you with sit yet. You seem to naturally know it. Abby, you gotta be calm. Sit. Yes, good boy. No! No.
She looks a little nervous, but she's doing okay.
Yeah, she's really doing okay if I think about it for a puppy that age. Yeah, I know there's so many smells that are interesting in here, huh? She's being such a good girl here today. Again, part of what I'm trying to do is just normalize the birds to her and have her get used to them without having them be this big, fascinating curiosity. Smelling all the chicken duty? For a puppy of this age, she is doing such a good job right now. Yeah, Abby, I am super impressed with how you're doing in here. Good job, girl. Toby, as always, I'm so impressed with you. Don't worry, I'll be back. It's really important that if I cannot be in here supervising her, I cannot let her be free. Even though her behavior's been very good, there's still lots of bad things that could happen. She could chase a chicken, she can get into a fight with a goose, and that's how your livestock guardian dogs learn their problem behaviors. By keeping her separated like this, it ensures that she can't screw up. Since I was so inexperienced with training livestock guardian dogs, and I only had that one experience of raising Toby Dog, who I'm coming to learn is more and more a 1 in a million type of dog, it made those early days with Abby Dog very challenging. All right, Abby girl, you want to let out the ducks? Yeah, you ready for me to let out the ducks? Are we gonna settle first? You got so much nervous energy, girl. I'm gonna say, release the Kraken! Hey, no! 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 You know, anytime she was left with the ducks, geese, or chickens, she would always try to play. Particularly the fluttery nature of chickens always caught her attention and she'd go after them. So I'm not sure how much you guys caught of that on camera, but Abby actually ended up chasing a chicken, which is why you heard me yelling at her like a psychopath. I know that seems harsh, and some people might say that's not how you're supposed to do it, but that's what I found actually worked really well with Toby Dog. You know, when Toby was a puppy, I remember like 2 instances where he tried to chase a duck, and I immediately scolded him, and he immediately felt like he was the worst dog in the world. And pretty much ever since then, I've never seen him try to play with birds. You cannot let even remotely playful puppy behavior happen. I had to really reprimand her. As I was reprimanding her, which by the way is not physical, it's simply a yelling thing and like a body language thing. She clearly knew that she screwed up, and so I think she's gonna be better behaved. Isn't that right, Abby? Come here, Abby. Come here. Come to me. Come here. Okay. You gotta remember, you can't chase birds. That's like rule number 1 on this farm. Above all else, do not chase the birds. You got that, Missy? I know. Yes, you're a sweet pup. You have those adorable brown eyes. I cannot let you get away with those things, because that's how you become a bad dog. And we want you to be a good dog, like Mr. Toby Dog. One of the hardest parts about training a livestock guardian dog is actually getting them good with the poultry. With poultry, what you're doing is you're training your dog to actually be the protector of this space. And the birds are just one of the things that belongs to them inside this space. And so when something like a fox or a coyote comes around, they're protecting their space, not necessarily that specific individual bird. Abby Dog, bless her little heart, was always trying to play with birds, and no matter how much I would scold or correct, she didn't want to hear it, and as soon as I turned my back, she might be at it again. It's been a tough morning here on the farm, and I feel like I need to tell you guys what happened. So far, the training of our livestock guardian puppy, Abby, has been going really, really well. She's got a great personality, she's been learning her obedience commands really well, and she's starting to get very comfortable with the ducks, chickens, and geese. She definitely has that puppy instinct to chase them, but I've been very watchful of her and I've been correcting it, and I think some of the birds, like the geese, actually keep her from trying to overstep her bounds. And all in all, for a puppy, she is progressing phenomenally. Yes, you are, little girl. Yes, you are. Which is why the next thing I'm gonna tell you, it sort of breaks my heart. So I've preached on and on to you guys about kind of like the #1 rule that I find for training livestock guardian puppies, and that is to never let them alone with your birds until you know you can absolutely trust them 100%. As you guys know, Abby has her own little special puppy area that I can keep her around the birds and around the farm, but also lock her up and keep her away from having direct access to the birds when I can't be there to supervise. And so when I'm out doing my morning chores, I have Abby with me. I'm using it as an opportunity to teach and train her. We'll even end up doing some obedience commands and that sort of thing. But then if I have to go inside and do work inside, or go off farm, run some errands, or do something like that, and I'm not actually out in the barnyard, I'll lock her up in that secure puppy area, and that will keep her from getting into trouble. But then if like around lunchtime I decide to come outside to shoot a video or hang out, I let her back out again and she's with me. But then I might lock her up again, and then later what I'll end up doing is bringing her back out when I come to do the evening chores. And then after I feed her and Toby for their evening chores, typically what I'm doing now is I just actually let her go loose and run free. All the birds are locked up, so they're protected from Abby. I've got Toby Dog to supervise Abby and keep her from getting in any trouble, or an animal that might be too much for her to handle comes into the yard, keep her protected. And speaking of the yard, I mean, we have about 10 acres here fenced in with a 5-foot high perimeter fence, plus another ½ foot of electrical top wire here. So I'm really not all that concerned about anybody getting in, nor am I all that concerned about Abby getting out. Plus the Maremma, as a dog breed, is very much nocturnal, and so to be able to have access to the outdoor world and let them roam and run free at night is really good for her, because it lets her work off some of that puppy energy, and she and Toby Dog can run around and bark and chase away coyotes and do the thing that they're meant to do. And then when I come back out the next morning, the cycle repeats itself, and I'm back out here with Abby doing chores, and then I'll lock her up for a few hours. And it's a pretty good cycle, where I would say that she's spending probably about 18 hours a day roaming free around this farm, but then she's maybe locked up in her area about 6 hours or so. And that's a rough estimate. Some days it's more, some days it's less. But the truth of the matter is, she's spending more of her time free than locked up. It's a little different than I did it with Toby, because Toby, when he was a puppy, he spent more time locked up because I didn't have this perimeter fence at the time. And so I didn't want him running free. If we didn't even have that fence, I wouldn't be all that worried about Toby running too loose and free. He's such a good dog and so well behaved and so connected to this farm. I actually doubt he would even wander much further past our property line. This one, on the other hand, I'm not so sure about yet. She's still learning her way. And what I'm about to tell you next is gonna really show you that she's learning her way. The chickens often spend most of their time in here, or at least most of the chickens do. It's so much warmer in here. They're protected from the elements, and I give them water and I give them food. Now, when I say most of our chickens stay inside, I need to stress the word most, because as you can see here, some of the chickens like to get loose and they like to wander around. And during the daytime, that is totally fine for them to do. And then at nighttime, as the sun sets, what happens is all the ducks will put themselves to bed in their house, and all the geese will actually march themselves into bed into their house. And the chickens end up finding their way back home to wherever they live, usually. But every so often, I will have a chicken that will not put themselves to bed, and they will find a creative place to roost for the night. You know, I've caught chickens trying to roost in the cat condo in the dog area. Other times they've tried to move into this chicken tractor. And sometimes I've even seen them roosting over by the trash and the water, which is why every night when I go to bed, I usually just do a quick sweep of the barnyard to make sure there's no chickens running loose or free. And so this next part that I'm about to tell you guys is feeling downright tragic to me, because last night, Blanche the chicken decided to not go back into the hoop coop, and she also decided to not go back into her duck house, and she took refuge somewhere on the farm. I don't exactly even know where, but she didn't go back into any of the secure locations. And when I came out to do the morning chores this morning, I found Blanche in a pile of white feathers. She wasn't entirely dead, but she was on the verge of it, so I actually put her down to end her suffering. And I gotta admit, I feel really awful about all of this. And if there's any question about which dog it is, let me just clarify that. Toby Dog has never had any incident whatsoever with the bird after, you know, 2.5 years, almost 2.5 years. Abby is the brand new puppy. Eve actually still looks very upset at Abby. Abby has been looking guilty all morning, pretty much certain that it was Abby. Not to say that it was Abby's fault though, because if I think about whose fault it is, it's 100% my fault. You know, back to that advice that I always give people when raising guard dogs with birds and how you should do it. You know, that #1 rule is don't leave your dog unsupervised until you can trust them. And while I didn't do it intentionally, it was definitely an accident that led to Abby being unsupervised out here in the yard with access to one of our birds, and things went horrible. And I know you feel horrible, Abby. And this is all my fault, so I'm sorry to you. I'm also really sorry to Blanche. If I had taken more care to make sure she was locked up, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong to let Abby run free at this young an age. It's all my fault. So in the winter time, when I can't get to the spot that I usually leave dead animal carcasses, I actually have another spot here. It's over in the back corner of our property. Now you guys are probably wondering, what would I do with a dead chicken like Blanche? You know, would I feed it to the dogs? And potentially I could, but I don't know, that would feel like it's rewarding bad behavior. I could salvage most of the meat for myself and my wife, and we could eat it ourselves and use that as a way to honor her life. But again, I feel like that's rewarding bad behavior. Me as the farmer did not do a good job here. And so for me to try to claim the body as resource for myself, I don't know, it doesn't feel ethical. So that's why I think that the best thing I can possibly do is leave her right here below these cedar trees here in the cedar swamp, and I'll let her get consumed by the wild and the wilderness, which, I don't know, I feel like as far as ends go, isn't the worst way to think about it. I feel so bad about this though. It's very much my fault. She was a very good chicken, very sweet, gave us a lot of eggs over a couple of years. It's just a tough way to go. I think another question that might pop up for folks is, what's the point of having a dog that's supposed to protect birds if it's gonna attack your birds? And you have to recognize that this is one of the situations where what might be bad for the one could be good for the many. By having Abby, by having Toby on the farm, we keep our predators away and it keeps our bird fatality rates very low. Unfortunately, when you're training a new dog, this is the type of thing that can happen. Abby, sit. Yes, good girl. Now I really feel like I'm opening myself up with you guys and telling you about the death of Blanche the chicken and my mistake and what Abby did. And so I know there's a good chance I'm gonna get crushed in the comments here on a number of fronts. Number one, I killed my chicken. Number two, I'm an awful dog owner. Number three, I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't know, maybe those are all fair criticisms. But I guess I show this to people because I think there's some myths out there, particularly to livestock guardian dogs, that I think are worth dispelling in even this little incident and what happened. I think myth number one is, if you have a dog that kills a chicken, that dog is broken and is not right and is not fit for duty and you should just get rid of it. And I think that that's a huge mistake. I think that that is the worst way you can think about raising a livestock guardian dog. What you really need to do is recognize that, yes, that's a misstep. That's not the behavior you want. You need to look at what allowed that behavior to happen. So for example, in my situation, the fact that Abby was loose while a chicken was loose and all of those things were happening while they were unsupervised, that's why this happened. Not because Abby's a bad dog, it's because I screwed something up. I think myth number two out there that's worth talking about, and I don't want anybody to think I blame him, because like I said, this is definitely a myth, but there's a myth out there that Toby Dog would have supervised her and he should have stopped the whole situation. We're out here in the pasture right now and you can see them playing and running around like crazy. If Abby tries to do that up there and tries to play with Toby up by the bird yard and like the bird houses and stuff, he actually puts a stop to it really quick. Now, I would have hoped he would have stopped Abby from killing that chicken, and maybe he actually broke up her ability to attack the chicken. But it all still went down the way it went down, and I can't blame Toby for that. But I do think it's a good illustration for folks who are thinking that, you know, by having an older livestock guardian dog, that dog's gonna do all the training work with your pup. That's not the case. You as the owner still need to do a lot of work. I love you unconditionally, puppy dog, and I'm gonna keep working with you. Now, I would try really hard to correct her behavior. You know, I am not a believer in hitting your dog. I'm not a believer in doing things like tying dead birds around your dog because your bird killed a dead bird. I don't believe that that actually works, and a lot of other trainers would agree too. But I'm also not one of those folks who believes in training 100% on positive reinforcement, because particularly with livestock guardian dogs, it's not as much about what you want them to do, it's what you want them not to do. The problem was that didn't seem to be working with Abby. She would do something bad, I would scold her, she would look remorseful, and then 5 minutes later, it was like the whole thing didn't happen and she was back to being her lovable, cheerful self, getting into trouble yet again. You know, for Toby Dog, I had set up like a little yard that was basically just a chicken wire fence that surrounded the duck yard that I had at the time. And so that way he could be close to the birds and see the birds and interact with the birds, but at the same time, he wouldn't be completely left alone to his own devices and get into trouble. And so for Abby Dog, I actually just put her in the same exact spot and hoped for the best. The problem there was Abby Dog is a bit of an escape artist. If she gets used to jumping over these gates, I will have a real problem on my hands, because that's That's what I use to secure the rest of the main pasture when we have our 2 gates. And so as a result of that, I actually spent some time yesterday building out a brand new area to house Abby and be her puppy daycare. This will also be the place that I keep her when she goes into heat, and I don't want her breeding with Toby. I also put in this ice cube, which I think Abby actually likes. I even got this sort of awning kit that goes with the kennel, so she's covered from the wet, which is actually the biggest thing, and she's covered from the wind because, you know, you have a windbreak with the duck house right there. She's tilted out this way, and then this thing actually does some good wind protection as well. And she's also by the highest traffic area here on the farm, or usually highest traffic area on the farm. So you'll see like the birds come here to get their food and water, and so that means she will see a lot of bird activity, but the birds can't get in and she can't get out. So already I was struggling in my plan to try to raise livestock guardian dog puppies, because while Toby Dog always seemed like a natural, what I was seeing out of the behavior from Abby was not suggesting she was a natural livestock guardian dog, particularly one suited to work with poultry. So is it possible to prevent a puppy from getting pregnant? I'm not sure, but I've got something here today that I think might help me. It's a dog chastity belt. Yes, Toby Dog, you heard me right, a doggy chastity belt. Dogs go into heat a couple of times a year, and that's when the female dog attracts the male dog and is liable to get pregnant. And while someday I might try to breed Toby and Abby together, I'm not even sure if I am gonna breed her. I still have to do some genetic testing with her. I still have to screen her for hip dysplasia and elbow dysplasia, and those screenings aren't something that can happen until she reaches about 2 years of age. Now that she's almost 6 months old, she's gonna start having a heat very soon. But at the same time, I don't want to get her fixed because I might breed her someday. I gotta admit, I was kind of surprised to see that doggy chastity belts were even a thing. What do you think, Abby? Looks actually a little more complicated than I was expecting. Come on, Abby girl. Need your help. She just took one look at this thing and did not want anything to do with it. I know, you don't like this at all. I'm not sure I like it either. Being so good by being on your back, but it's making it hard to do this right. I'm thoroughly confused by this thing. Well, it only took me about 35 minutes to do, but I finally got the doggy chastity belt on Abby. Abby, do you have any initial reactions? I'm very curious to see if you're able to go to the bathroom or not. Oh, looks like she's able to pee with it on. That's good. But the real question is, long term, is Abby gonna be able to live up to her potential? Is she gonna be able to be a successful guard dog on our farm and watch over the ducks and geese and chickens and not create problems? As far as personality goes, Toby Dog is relatively shy and reserved. I mean, that's just the reality of the type of dog he is. That's neither good nor bad, but it plays out in their personality because Abby is not that. She's a wild child. I think Toby's shyness is actually played out in terms of how directive he's been with Abby. And so just the fact that their personalities are different plays out. I mean, heck, even look at it here. Abby just wants to run and play, meanwhile Toby is investigating for signs of any animals that shouldn't be here. You know, I've noticed other behavioral differences with Toby and Abby too. Like, for example, Abby, she's got like a herding instinct. Like when I come out here late at night, what'll happen is, you know, oftentimes you'll have ducks out here playing in the swale, not quite ready to go into the duck house for the night. And what Abby will do is she'll run up here and kind of herd the ducks in, and the ducks will very quickly make their way back down into their area. That's just not the type of thing you'll see Toby Dog do. And again, I think that that's a big part of their nature in terms of Toby Dog is much more of a protector, is much more gentle and much more laid back. Abby is a little bit more high wired, and like I said, she seems like she's got like this massive drive for herding, which is probably where she's gotten into trouble with chickens. You know, there was Blanche the chicken that she killed, but then there's been other chickens that she's tried to play with and I've had to reprimand her. Whereas Toby did that like once or twice in my entire memory. Abby does it over and over again. I think ultimately I'll be able to break her of that habit. It's just taken a lot more work, and it does make me wonder about her instincts. And to be quite honest with you guys, I have a decision to ultimately make. I've always said that I'd hope to breed Toby and Abby, but that does not mean that I will breed Toby and Abby. When you buy a dog and you have dreams of breeding, you always have to go into it with the mindset that it might not work out and you're gonna hit curveballs along the way. And so I was already starting to see some issues with Abby's behavior to say she might not be the ideal dog to breed and become a mother for future livestock guardian puppies. The way I got into this whole idea of breeding in the first place came from the fact that I truly believe in the disposition that Toby has, where he is the perfect livestock guardian dog for poultry. jury. The jury is still very much out if Abby has the right disposition for that sort of thing. You know, she's actually very good with the geese and she's been very good with the ducks. It's the chickens that she seems to have the problem with. You know, overall, Abby's doing really well with learning on how to work with the birds. The one animal she still struggles with a lot is chickens. And at this point, it's only really one specific chicken. Yeah, I'm serious. Like, Abby loves all of the animals, maybe a little bit too playful with them, but overall she's good with them. But there's this one white chicken we have. Abby, no. You guys remember Dottie the chicken? She was the mama who hatched out some chicks that got eaten by the skunk. Her sister Blanche was the one that was killed by Abby. Yeah, that Dottie. Well, for whatever reason, it seems like Abby has it in for her. Abby, no, 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 no. She really does hate this one chicken, and it's only the white chicken. Part of me wonders, is it because she got to taste what chicken tastes like with Blanche that she now has it in for Dottie? It's like the only theory I really have. I'm just very concerned when I see how much interest Abby takes in her specifically. That was a good job right there. Good girl. Yeah. You can even see it, right? She was looking at Dottie. She's still looking at Dottie. Abby, sit. Sit. Good girl. I want you to be in a sit right now. We gotta let Dottie just do her thing and let Abby be around here. But I do worry about what it means for the future of our farm. And I guess specifically, I really don't think I'm gonna ever have any leghorn chickens or white chickens. Definitely no leghorns on the farm again. I mean, for one thing, leghorns aren't necessarily suited for our climate. You know, they've got those large combs, which is really tough in the cold. They really run the risk of getting frostbitten. And so as I think about future birds, you know, sticking with dark colors because of Abby's predisposition, it just might end up being something I end up doing. I know it's probably not what a lot of people would recommend, but it just seems like the most logical solution to the problem I'm having of having this one white chicken that is absolutely despised by my guard dog. I mean, look at it. Abby's doing so good right now about all these birds. As soon as she catches a glimpse of Dottie, she is way too interested. Abby, stay seated. Ultimately, I made the decision that Abby was going to continue to be a livestock guardian dog on our farm, but we were not going to breed her or even attempt to breed her in the future. But because Toby Dog is a male who's intact, I can't just wait a couple of years and then get her fixed. When I look at Toby's personality, which required me to correct him like 2 or 3 times when he was 4 or 5 months old, versus Abby's personality, which has required a correction nearly every single day for the last 5 months. That tells me that in terms of natural instincts, Toby has much better natural instincts than Abby does. Should I be breeding Abby or no? You know, back to that point that I've always made, I want to be a responsible and ethical breeder. And if I have this dog that has this potential genetic carrier for these hernias, as well as the fact that she just has a less than stellar track record as a dog working with poultry, I mean, it genuinely does have me wondering, what should I be doing with Abby? And well, I have come to a decision. Okay, Abby, how are you feeling? You doing okay? I decided rather than have her go into heat and have to deal with a whole bunch of problems and risk having a pregnancy, that I would just get her fixed and we'd move on. You know, there is a decent case for waiting a couple of years to get a dog spayed, but I weighed that against the risks of early pregnancy or some sort of problem like that, and I made the decision just to go ahead with it. We're gonna get you situated in your little hospital. Uh-oh, you recognize this guy. Aww. Abby and Toby are reunited. Now, Toby Dog, you're gonna have to take it easy on Abby. He's very curious about what's going on back there. I know, Toby, I know. It's been quite drastic. I just put down some fresh straw for you, so come on in. So now Abby's gonna be on heavy movement restriction for the next 10 to 14 days. I'll let her heal up. I'll occasionally walk her around the farm, but for the most part, she'll be spending her time in her little kennel area. I got you this red bodysuit, and you're gonna be able to wear this, and this will prevent you from licking your wound. What do you think, Abby? Now, I know that the question for a lot of you is gonna be, well, what am I gonna do with Abby? If she's less than an ideal guard dog, and I'm now not gonna breed her, what's her purpose? What's her role here on the farm? And quite frankly, Abby's gonna keep doing the things she's been doing. I'm gonna keep working with Abby. I'm gonna keep training her, and she's gonna ultimately be a good guard dog for the farm. She just takes more work, and she just maybe doesn't have quite the genetics that we were hoping for breeding. You know, oftentimes you can have a plan, and you're gonna have to change that plan. And if you get disappointed by it, or disappointed by the animals or people that plan's built around, you're gonna keep viewing the world like this is the way it should be or how it's supposed to be. But you know, supposed to be has got nothing to do with it. You gotta accept the situation for what it is and find something that works. And I will tell you right now, there's nothing more adorable than having this 90-pound puppy dog laying on my lap. I love having her here on our farm, and she is absolutely a part of our farm. And yes, she can be frustrating, and yes, there's certain things that I was disappointed about with her, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to keep working with her. And she is 100% a part of Goldshaw Farm. Which I guess looking back is probably a good thing, because when I ultimately did a DNA test on Abby, I was rather stunned to see what I found out about her genetics, particularly her genetics as they relate to Mr. Toby Dog. Today is the day that I'm giving Abby Dog her DNA test. Are you excited? I like doing these DNA tests because I find it very interesting information that comes out of them. I think it's kind of cool to see the generic heritage and lineage for the animal, and I also like to use them to screen for any potential health issues. So yeah, I'm gonna have to give her the swab, and then we'll get our results. I have never had an animal more enthusiastic about getting their DNA test than Abby. You know, Toby Dog was a little bit nervous when I gave him his test, and the barn cats were quite surly about the whole experience. But Abby seems downright excited. Now it gives you this like little Q-tippy deal, and what you gotta do is swab this inside their mouth for about a minute. Okay, Abs, you ready? You ready? You were so excited for this. Come on. Good girl. There we go. Okay, I think that was enough. Good job, Abby. We now have your sample. Now I gotta just box this up and send it to the lab. So I just got a notification on my phone that Abby Dog's DNA test results came in. And so I figured both with Abby and you guys as my witness, I would read them and see what we got. And again, it's not like I'm really expecting anything groundbreaking here, but I'm always curious to see DNA test results for my animals. Now, what I'm expecting to see with Abby's DNA test results is that she is a full-blooded Maremma. I want to double check and make sure that she doesn't have any genetic indicators that would suggest that she might have health problems. But because of her pedigree, I actually don't expect that to be the case. And then the other really fun thing that I've found in the past with DNA tests is you can find like relatives of your dog. So like in the past, I've actually had messages and communicated with some of the folks whose dogs are related to Toby Dog, and I find that to be kind of cool. But I am stalling here. Let me open up the results and see what we got. Result number 1 is, when it comes to Abby's status as a full-blooded Maremma, yes, she's 100% a Maremma. Second, as far as her health goes, oh no. Abby's got 2 genetic indicators of potential health problems. So first off, she's got the dilated cardiomyopathy gene, which predisposes her to heart disease. So the ALT activity, which it's sort of a variant that shows that her ALT level may be lower than normal. So like if I was talking to the vet and the vet was doing a liver test on Abby, her result might look lower than normal, and so I should tell the vet that she's got that. But honestly, neither of those are good. You know, when I did the genetic testing on Toby, that was one of those things where he had a perfectly clean bill of health. Same thing with the barn cats. They had these perfectly clean bills of health with no genetic indicators of any health problems. The genetic indicator doesn't mean that she's definitely gonna have a health problem, but it does mean that there is a higher predisposition. And quite honestly, as I'm recording this here live with you guys, I got to admit, I'm really kind of bummed by that one. And now a couple months later, after I had her spayed, that looks like it was absolutely the right decision. And even if it wasn't her behavior problems, even if it wasn't the hernia problem, this genetic carrier status would be enough to disqualify Abby as a breedable dog in my eyes. Let's check out the rest of Abby's DNA results. I'm really curious actually to see her relatives. What? You've got to be kidding me. You know, I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't have recorded this video while I'm finding out the results, and I should have given myself a little time to process this. Oh my god. This is insane. You know, like I was saying earlier, one of the cool things about the DNA testing service I'm using for this video is, number 1, they're actually the largest dog DNA tester in the United States, and so I was fully expecting to find relatives of Abby's on their network of other people who've tested, and I most definitely have. Brace yourselves for this, ones. we have Toby. Yes, that's correct. I'm finding this out for the first time, and I'm absolutely gobsmacked by this. Toby Dog and Abby are as closely related as human first cousins. I can't get over this. Because like I said, I used the same exact testing service with Toby a couple of years ago, and so his results were still up there. And yes, he is a 13% shared DNA connection with Abby. First cousins! Abby Dog, were you aware of this information? You and Toby Dog are first cousins? Toby Dog, I've got some very weird news. Did you know that you and Abby Dog are very much related? Yeah, you guys share 13% DNA. That's crazy, kids. I don't know what to think about that. That's insane. This amount of shared DNA between the two dogs would also, in my eyes, be a disqualifier for breeding. I'm really glad I got this done for Abby's health's sake, because I'll be sharing this information with my vet, and it'll give things for me and the vet to watch out for. So just from that point alone, I'm very glad that I did this. Now, as it got to be the summer of 2022, I was still really struggling with Abby. The training wasn't working out. I really didn't want to have to send her away, but I was starting to run out of options. Now, a lot of Abby's playful energy is rooted in the fact that she still is very much a teenager, but a fair amount of that is also rooted in the fact that her instincts are quite different than Toby Dog's.
Abby, tranquilo. Good job.
For anybody who's seen our videos, you can clearly see that Abby likes to play with birds. And the biggest thing I've been working on with her from a disciplinary perspective is to try to break her of that habit. By the time Toby was about 10 or 11 months old, I did let him be with the birds unsupervised 24/7. But that was because I could trust Toby. He had proven himself, he had a track record. I had given him a longer and longer leash before I ultimately did that. Unfortunately with Abby, that just hasn't been the case. And that's not that I blame her, that's just who she is. But much like a parent who has two children that are wildly different in their behavior, I need to raise Abby a little bit differently than I raised Toby. Now, as far as what am I gonna do about Abby, guys, the plan still remains 100% the same. I'm gonna continue to keep training her, and I know eventually she's gonna be an outstanding livestock guardian dog. It's just gonna take a lot of work and love on my part. But the good news is I absolutely love this pup. She has proven herself to be an outstanding farm companion. I don't know if you guys noticed this earlier when we were herding the cattle back in. Abby, tranquilo. Good girl. But Abby was doing a tremendous job of placing herself in a way related to the cattle where it kept them from moving backwards. She kept inching up, and she's learned some commands, which sometimes you'll hear me say tranquilo to her, which is my way of saying take it easy, so that she knows to go slow with the cattle. And she's learned that command super well. She's just a teenager, and she needs time and she needs patience, and I know she's gonna ultimately mature. But I was starting to run out of options. But the last ditch effort I found was I had a friend put me in touch with a person who is a livestock guardian dog trainer, and they've worked with livestock guardian dogs for years. You know, the training methods that you might apply to a regular dog are very different than the training methods for a livestock guardian dog, and so the obedience training that Abby needed was slightly different, so I couldn't just go to like local puppy kindergarten. And so that's where this person who lived even in a different state that I'm in, you know, came and helped me, and particularly we did a number of Zoom sessions where they helped me kind of figure out some things I was doing wrong. And then the other thing that they suggested was moving to an e-collar.
You know, the thing is, Abby has a lot of interest in the birds, and she likes to play with the birds.
That doesn't mean she likes to eat the birds, and she doesn't have like a murderous instinct within her.
But the noisy flapping wing nature of our birds often attracts the attention of Abby, who sees them kind of as something to play with. And so training her in a way where she can be around our birds unsupervised and not create problems has been one of my biggest priorities on the farm this summer. And I gotta say, overall, things have been going really well. While you can still see she's got that interest in the birds that you don't see from someone like Toby Dog, she has come leaps and bounds from where she was even as recently as 3 months ago.
You see, because when it came to Toby, I was like 90%, 99% positive reinforcement. You know, a few treats, a whole heck of a lot of praise, and he was doing exactly what I was hoping for him to do.
And I gotta say, I sort of almost developed a mindset where I would be looking down on people who would use things like electric shock collars on their dogs as a method of training.
You know, I saw a shock collar almost as the equivalent of like hitting your dog, which you should obviously never ever do.
And for years I've always said to myself, oh, I would never use something like that with my dogs. Abby, come. Good girl. Yeah, you're such a good girl. You and your obedience commands are outstanding at this point.
And quite honestly, for the most part, that's how I've trained Abby. You know, she's become an exceptionally obedient dog. She will come, sit, stay whenever I call her. Like, watch.
Abby, sit. Good girl.
And all of that training has come through positive reinforcement. You know, the occasional treat, lots of praising.
And so while it's taken a lot of hard work with Abby because she's a bit of a stubborn one,
I have been able to use positive reinforcement for her obedience commands. But the obedience piece has never really been quite the problem. My challenge with Abby has always been to teach her not to use chickens as chew toys. And that has proven to be a bit more challenging. And so training against that with positive reinforcement, while it's definitely possible, and I mean, that's really how I did it with Toby, it's not nearly as easy. Because, you know, essentially what I want her to do is not do something, not to do something. Back in June, I actually started working with a dog training coach, somebody here in New England who has been giving me some tips and working with me and Abby, and really helping improve the training that I'm delivering to her.
you know, she actually noticed a few things when she observed Abby's behavior around the chickens, as well as she observed how Abby learned certain things.
I don't know if you guys remember it, but a few months back, when I first moved the cattle out to pasture, I would bring Abby around with me to do the cow chores.
And at one point, Abby was exploring the electric rope that I use to keep the cattle in place, and she put her nose right up to it.
I don't know if... Sweetie, it's okay, it's okay.
And while Abby was a little bit scared by the fence and the cattle over the first couple of days after that happened, really ever since then, she has learned how to work around the fence. And that has really kept her from getting into too much trouble. Yeah, you're a smart girl once you learn a lesson.
Because of all of these factors, as well as the fact that I wasn't having too much success with positive reinforcement with Abby, my dog training coach recommended that I actually explore getting an e-collar or a shock collar for Abby. Now, an e-collar, if you're not familiar, is one of those things that is very controversial in the dog training world. Oftentimes people think of them as just solely shock collars, where it's like a collar that you put on your dog, you have a little remote control, and when you press the button, you zap them to high heck. Now, when this trainer suggested that I move to an e-collar, I was shocked. Pun completely intended. I never thought of myself as a person who would use a shock collar on their dog. I thought that it was cruel, I thought it was inhumane, and it seemed counterproductive to me and not the type of way that I would want to train my dog. But the dog trainer I was working with said, no, that's a little bit of a myth, that's a little bit of a stereotype, and particularly when you look at modern e-collars, most of them actually have a vibrate function that becomes the primary use for using when you're training your dog. And at this point, my back very much felt like it was up against the wall. I knew that either I was going to make this work with this trainer, or I was gonna have to send Abby packing, which I really didn't want to do because I loved her so much and I built such a connection with her. And on top of it all, I just hate the idea of failing on an animal and leaving that animal with an uncertain future. When you take on a dog as that dog owner, or really as any animal owner, it is your responsibility to make sure that they have proper health care, make sure that they have proper nutrition, make sure that they have proper housing and security, make sure that they have proper training, make sure that they have all of the things that they need to be a successful animal. That is on you as the owner. And I would feel horrible if I just suddenly said, yep, you know what, she's not working out here, we're done, we'll, I don't know, put her up for adoption, send her away, something like that. It was not a scenario I was ever even remotely comfortable with. And so I got past my squeamishness with the e-collar and I gave it a try. I actually want to do a little bit of a demonstration today to show you how I personally got comfortable with it, as well as how I use one of these.
So I actually have two different models of collar I've tested out over the last couple of months. I started off with this sportsman model of collar and it worked okay, but I actually ended up buying a second one. And I spent a little bit more money on this one. It's called the Ecollar. It's from Ecollar.com. And this thing is tremendous.
Now, what I've found to be very useful for this is I've never actually used any high electricity. In fact, I've never used electricity any higher than like 25% of what this thing can do. So I got the electrodes right up against my neck. I've got this thing set to 18. This is what the buzz feature feels like. I don't know, can you even hear it? Yeah, like I said, like one little click feels like you're getting a text message on your phones. I feel no shame when Abby's misbehaving and administering this. And this is always the first thing you do. But then if she doesn't respond, the next step actually becomes to hit the electric. And so here's what the electric feels like. I mean, it's like unpleasant. I mean, you can see I'm hitting it. You can see the light go off. You can see there, like I'm doing it over and over to myself. It feels unpleasant, like I wouldn't like it, but it's less than a bee sting. I have been shocked so much worse, so many times more when I've hit our own electric fence here on the farm. It doesn't feel good, but it definitely doesn't feel like I'm causing undue pain. And that's why I'm comfortable with using something like this on Abby. Now with Abby and the Ecollar, what I was essentially doing was using it as a way to focus her training and redirect her from getting into trouble or causing problems.
You know, one of the biggest things I have to work on with Abby right now is to keep her from intervening when there's bird fighting. Because the birds will fight, and so she gets very curious about it. She thinks it's planned. Abby, come.
Wait, I'm not supposed to do that.
And yeah, sometimes situations like that will happen where Abby's just walking and she'll create chaos and she's almost startled by the chaos.
But she needs to learn not to be the chaos.
And because Abby was a dog who was so heavily driven by stimulus and response, it worked like an absolute charm. But just know that when it comes to my animals on my farm, their welfare and their well-being is like a founding principle for what we do here at our farm. And so I'm doing this because I want to make Abby the best possible dog for this farm. I know not everybody's gonna agree with it, but sometimes when you're running a farm like ours, you gotta be comfortable with making decisions that not everybody's gonna like. And for about 4 to 6 weeks, I was just doing it on the down low. I wasn't making videos talking about it. I was just kind of doing it in secret, hoping that nobody would notice that she was wearing an e-collar. Because one of the tough things that happens when you make videos about your farm and you're dealing with problems and you're trying to learn, sometimes you don't want to put all your business out immediately into the open because number one, people might get the wrong impression and judge you a certain way. Or number two, people might follow you and do exactly what you're doing when you might say 6 weeks later, oh no, this was a complete mistake and I was totally wrong. And so yes, I kept it on the down low and I experimented with it. And the e-collar just worked great with Abby and it was exactly what she needed from a training standpoint, and she got so much better. Not perfect, but better.
Oh, hi, I know you're a little scared. Yeah, it's okay. Maybe she wants a treat. Come here, sweetie. I got you. She is shy. Hey, buddy.
Good girl. Yeah. Yay.
Yay. Oh.
Oh, good girl.
You're settling in quite nicely.
You are such a sweetheart. You know that? Come here, Abby. Come here. Come to me. Come here. Okay. You gotta remember, you can't chase birds. That's like rule number 1 on this farm. I know. Yes, you're a sweet pup. You have those adorable brown eyes.
morning, Abby Dog. How's it going, sweetie? You can see Toby is always the first one to the door of the duck and goose house. I think he likes the responsibility of going in there and greeting them each morning. Isn't that right, buddy? I know, Toby Dog. You want to see your friends. You want to check on everybody, make sure they're all okay. Good morning, birds. How's everybody doing this morning, huh? All right, Toby Dog. All right, Abby Dog. Let's go. Come on. Come on, guys. Good job. For those of you guys wondering about an Abby Dog training update, she's doing really, really good. I am actually quite impressed with how she has grown up. No jumping. The one behavior that she's actually started doing that she wasn't doing before is she's starting to jump up on me. And so I got to work on her with the jumping. And so that's actually the next thing I'm going to be focused on. She actually hasn't even been wearing her vibrating collar lately. She's been good with just kind of doing her thing. Of course, when Toby Dog was Abby's age, he actually had a similar issue. And so I just had to work with him and be kind of persistent, and eventually she got it. What I try to do is redirect her to just sit when she tries to jump up. Yes, good girl. Because you're sitting, you get attention. That's a good girl. And yes, Toby Dog, you get your attention too. Do any dogs want to join me in the dog barn? Hey, Toby Dog. Yeah, you want to come in the dog barn with me? Oh, Abby joined as well. So yes, the space that was affectionately named the dog barn is working out really great. Ah! Okay, doggies. I'm finding that both dogs are spending the time in here. You know, a lot of folks have said that I need to make this a smaller space and that it's too big. But I actually think it works out really well for both dogs because, you know, Toby Dog and Abby Dog sometimes can get on each other's nerves. More like Abby Dog can get on Toby Dog's nerves. And so the fact that they both can be in here and have their separate spaces works out good. What I find is Toby Dog usually likes to take that corner and Abby Dog usually likes to take that corner. And so it works out pretty good. All right, come on guys. We're gonna go check on the cattle. Good morning, Moo Crew. How are my mookers doing? How's it going, Annabelle? You doing good? Come on, dogs. You can come in and say hi to the cows. Oh yeah, you guys like that stuff, huh? Well, dig in. You got a whole nother bale now. You can see Abby's making herself at home. Abby Dog, are you rolling in cow poop? Ugh, now I'm gonna have to brush you. That is gross, girl. I swear, that dog drives me crazy sometimes. Okay, large white farm dogs, come with me. Large shaggy cows, you stay out here. Good morning, birds. How's everybody doing this morning? Yeah, the hoop coop continues to be the toastiest building on the farm other than our farmhouse. Toby Dog and Abby Dog, they live outdoors 24/7. They basically protect this building and all of its residents. Abby Dog's still a little bit in training. She's getting better and better. So you guys might be noticing on the fence over here that I've suddenly set up some poly wire that I typically use for my cattle, but I have it here connected to our electric fence. The reason for that is we had a little training setback the other day. You see, my darling Abby Dog, she began jumping over the chicken wire and getting into the bird yard, which I don't want her doing just yet. While she's a darling girl and she's made so much progress in her training, she's still not a full-fledged livestock guardian dog yet, which is perhaps another myth about livestock guardian dogs that I think is worth busting. You know, some folks think about livestock guardian dogs like they're just a tool, like you'd go buy a chainsaw at the hardware store and pull it out of the box, throw some chain oil in it, throw some gasoline in it, and boom, you're good to go. And while these dogs most definitely do operate on instinct, and they are suited for the jobs that they do, sometimes they do require training. And particularly with Abby Dog, I've worked a lot over the course of this year to get her to a place where she could potentially be a livestock guardian dog. Good morning, everybody. So I just got outside and I don't see my large white farm dogs. Let's see if we can sneak up on them. Of course, Abby Dog. There's no sneaking up on you. How's it going, sweetie? Good morning. Good to see you, Abby Dog. Good to see you, Mr. Toby Dog. How are my large white farm dogs doing, huh? Good to see you, buddy. Abby, you need to sit. Sit. Did you have a good night? Oh, you don't say, ma'am. These dogs are the security detail here at our farm. Yes, I know. You're vicious and you're cuddly. It's a weird combination. Yeah, that's right, you guys. You've been seeing coyotes, hearing coyotes. I've occasionally come out here in the middle of the night to hear them barking off the coyotes. As the farmer, it's actually a very satisfying sound. You know, the relationship my dogs have with their poultry is kind of different than the relationship like a livestock guardian dog that protects sheep has with its flock. You see, when a dog like our dogs is living with like a sheep or a goat, it starts to think that it's part of that species. It thinks it's sheep or goat. But because our birds are the main animal that our dogs are protecting, they don't see them exactly the same way. Our dogs are very protective of our birds, and they don't like any sort of outside creatures coming in and messing with their birds. But it's because they see these birds as part of their territory, and they're just simply protecting their territory from other outside creatures. Which is why the coyotes stay away. Ooh, look, the dogs are sensing something near their territory. What is it, Abs? What is it, Toby? Huh? What is it? What is it? Look, you can even see Goofy Abby is in her serious guard dog mode right now. And Toby Dog definitely has his hackles up. You know, these woods, very regularly I can hear a coyote out there. So what is it, Abby Dog? There is something that has definitely gotten your attention out here. Not exactly sure what it is, but it's something. And you even see Toby Dog, he's sniffing and snuffing. Something's out there, he doesn't like it. And as I've talked at length in previous videos, my dogs are not out there fighting coyotes. They are establishing this farm as their territory, and they're keeping the coyotes away. Yes, who's the cuddliest apex predator out there? Yes, you are, my friend. You are. Yes, you are. And it looks like we're catching Abby doing one measure of predator control. These dogs peeing and pooping in various places is part of how they keep the predators away. That leaves a scent, so even when they're not over here, say later this afternoon, coyote or bobcat's gonna get a whiff of that dog dookie from Abby and really wonder if it's worth it to come near here. And then if they do come near here, suddenly the dogs are gonna spring into action, and then they're gonna start barking like the hounds of hell, and that's how we keep those guys away. Something's got their attention. I don't know what it is. Seems to be down by the road. So if I had to guess, it might be like my neighbor walking his dog. But I don't know. You know, I will admit, I've given up trying to know what they're barking at. I don't try to correct it and stop them. They should be allowed to bark whenever they want. That's like what their breed was designed to do. And if they're doing their job effectively, they're barking. I sure do like to sit back and watch them work. It's very enjoyable. Lady Abington, you're being such a good girl. I'm gonna let you come out and visit the cattle with me. Come on, sweetie. Good girl. Good girl. Come on. Let's say hi to your friends. Yeah, Abby likes the cattle a lot. Good girl. Hey there, ladies. Got Annabelle and Anna Green Gables hanging out here. All right, come on, Abs. Let's go inside. Good girl. What do you think, Abs? Is it nice visiting your friends? So it looks like they have enough hay. I'll probably have to give them more hay tomorrow. Yeah, I'm giving them a fresh bale every 2 or 3 days. They seem like they're eating less hay now that they're producing no milk, which is a good thing. Abby and Amanda are getting used to each other. Amanda hasn't had any time with Abby, really. Oh, a little bit. Not much. Hi, good to see you guys. Oh, I'm so happy to see both of you. Yes. Oh, Abby, you're being well behaved. Despite some initial challenges with training Abby, she has settled into a very good groove this winter. These days, she's no longer living in the kennel, and she is able to free range on our farm pretty much full time. And with this newfound freedom, she's been a really good pup. But I still have my fair share of reservations. Abby Dog, you ready to release the Quacken? Release the Quacken! You know, Abby, I'm really glad that you care about Release the Quacken, because without you, I don't think any animal on the planet would. So ever since I moved my birds inside the hoop coop for the winter, it's been much easier actually keeping Abby. And when the birds moved in here, I went from having Abby inside her kennel anytime I couldn't be out here directly to supervise her, to the point of today when she has actually 9.5 acres to just her and Toby Dog, where they can run and roam and play and do whatever they want. And I don't have to worry about her getting into trouble with the birds during the day. You see, I put up this poultry fencing right here as a way to segregate out the birds, and what it does is it actually keeps the birds to one part of the farm, so they only have this area around here. And so what that has meant is I can confidently let Abby run around, and she has absolutely blossomed with the newfound freedom. And I don't know if you guys realize this at this point, but when it comes to the obedience commands, I would actually say Abby is now a better trained dog than Toby. Watch. Abby, come. Good girl. Toby, come. I know, you both heard her. Look at how Abby just sits quietly, and she knows she needs to be patient. I mean, she's still learning though. Sometimes she likes to ride Toby Dog, which is a little weird. But believe me when I say she has come so far. So my winter bird keeping situation has been good for both Abby Dog and the bird. And I'm genuinely happy about that. But as you guys are well aware, all good things must come to an end. Good girl, Abby. I'm so proud of you right there. That was excellent. Good girl, you were so calm. Yes. I don't know if you guys caught that behavior right there, but basically Abby was just walking around doing her rounds and the chicken just walked right into her. And the birds are often very prone to getting spooked by her at this point. But what's amazing is she doesn't freak out and try to play with them. She just acts calm and keeps moving. Yeah, good girl, Abby. Good girl. No jumping. We're still working on that with you. We're still working on that with you. You know, it might seem like it's ways away, but in just a few short weeks, all of the snow that you see behind me is gonna melt. This whole area is gonna turn into one gigantic pond. Our main pond will fill. The overflow area for the pond will fill. And so pretty soon, my ducks and geese who are living inside there are gonna wanna break past this fence and be able to free range on the farm again. And while that is all fine and good and very much how we manage our farm, the one creature who might lose out on that change is our gal, Lady Abington. Yeah, sweetie. I don't know what's gonna happen. You know, a lot of folks have wondered that once the birds go back to free ranging, is Abby gonna be able to be a free ranging dog herself full time? And the really honest answer is I'm not 100% sure yet. Because when it comes down to it, while Abby's behavior has improved, I would still say I'm not 100% with her. You know, for example, earlier this winter, I had a situation where Abby jumped over this short poultry netting, which isn't shocking, and so that's why I ended up putting this electric polywire rope around here as well. That would discourage her from trying to come into the bird yard. But when she was in here by herself unsupervised, I did find that she was actually eventually trying to play with one of the birds. She didn't harm it and no bad happened from it, but at the same time, it's the type of thing that shakes my confidence. And so in terms of what I'm gonna actually do once the birds start to free range again, I'm still working on my plan. I'm going to avoid kenneling her when I don't have to, because I really think that she's developed so much by just being a free range dog at this point, at this age. But I also know she's gonna need more supervision than normal. Yes, I'm talking about you, you weirdo. You know, last summer when I was really struggling with Abby's training, and I ended up even hiring a trainer to consult me and help me, and one of the tools that they encouraged me to use was an e-collar. Using that e-collar was actually the thing that ultimately got Abby to turn a corner and really improved her behavior. And so what I will probably end up doing is starting to let her free range, but putting the e-collar back on her, because you'll notice she's not even wearing it right now. And I'll just watch really carefully. And really with some time and some patience, I'm hoping that she's gonna be ready to go to be a full-fledged livestock guardian dog. I'm sorry guys, I have no idea what's going on here right now between my two dogs. Like what is that? I don't know. I think Toby's as confused as I am.
Abby, get down. Hey, get down from there. Get down, Abby. Morning, Toby. Good morning, Abby. How's it going there, girl? How's it going, buddy? All right, you go mark your territory. Yeah, you're super excited this morning.
You know what I've noticed with the dogs is it always seems like right before dawn, they go take a nap and then they wake back up again when I come out here. Abby always springs forward. Toby's always a little bit sleepier. But yes, it always makes me happy to see them in the morning.
Your water freeze up? No? I guess not. All right, you guys want to go see your birds? Abby, stop jumping. When you sit, you get pet. That's how this works. When you jump, you don't get pet. Morning, birds! What you doing there, Abby dog? You find a steak that you really like? Was there some really rancid duck poop there that you were rolling in, huh?
Dogs are so weird.
Did you just bring me this egg? Oh, Abby.
I think Abby's learning the ways of the Easter Bunny from Toby Dog. Did you just do that and now you think you're gonna get it? I'm sorry, girl. Maybe later. I'm very impressed with her though, that she did that. She actually cracked it just a little bit, so not quite perfect shape, but she's learning.
All right, Abby, what do we have going on for egg patrol? Got the angry ganders back again. Abby, you know you keep your distance. Abby, did you take one of the wooden eggs too? Yeah, you're just becoming like a regular old egg hunter, huh?
You see, my sister and my brother-in-law and my 2 nephews all came up here to the farm and spent the weekend, and it was really enjoyable. So the younger boy's favorite animals on the farm were Toby Dog and Abby Dog. He absolutely loved just snuggling up next to them. And both dogs actually did surprisingly well. You know, I've tried to socialize them to children over the years, whether they be my friends' kids or my nephews or whomever. And I feel like watching both dogs with the boys, it shows that my efforts have really been worth it, because, you know, they just seemed so chill and relaxed and at ease hanging out with the boys. It was very good to see.
Good girl, sweetie. Good girl.
Now, one of the things people have often commented with me as they see me and my struggles with the cattle is that I need a cattle dog. You know, moving cattle can be lots of work. Heck, even moving geese can be lots of work. And having a herding dog, like one of those herding breeds, like a border collie or Australian shepherd, is definitely a tool that you can use to help move your animals. Now, the dilemma with that, though, is to have a good herding dog, it actually takes a lot of work to train them. And I just haven't ever quite felt like I'm in the position to train a good herding dog. It's one of those things that's like on my maybe someday list, but not something I'm gonna rush right in and do. Now, a lot of viewers over the years have commented on Abby's ability to seem to like herd the animals and move them. And it's true, she does have this sort of shepherding instinct that is significantly stronger than what I see out of Toby Dog. But at the same time, she definitely is a livestock guardian dog. And so trying to do too much work with her being a herding dog and training her as a herding dog doesn't quite work. The behavior, though, that I have seen is she will see her cattle if they're straying off, and she will push them into place and put them like all together, because that's what feels like it's supposed to be for her. And so she will be very directive. You know, Maremas as a livestock guardian dog breed can be very bossy when it comes to that. Sometimes people who get them for family dogs are a little bit taken aback at how they might like push their toddlers around or move their children around, or even not let them go certain places because they're concerned about protecting their owner or protecting any sort of animal that they see as their pack. And Abby has that instinct significantly stronger than Toby, where Toby is all about marking his territory and barking away any sort of potential threats, and he's just very chill around all the animals that are on the farm. Abby is a boss. Now, I think it was that combination of working with the Ecollar and improving my training of Abby and working with her, as well as her getting older and becoming more mature. As she's aged up and she's now almost 2 years old, she's become much more calm, but she's still got a lot of high energy, and I don't feel great about leaving her with chickens completely unsupervised. Now, as I went through the process to fence in the upper pasture, it created a lot more space for Abby Dog. And with that extra space, she's been able to do her thing and spend a lot more time up here just wandering around, watching over the cattle. I have the poultry netting up to protect the chickens, and all in all, it seems like it's keeping her out of trouble. There's also the high tensile fence, which is electrified, which kind of discourages her from wandering too far. But overall, I mean, this is a big area. It's about 24 acres or so that we have fenced in this upper pasture. So it's not like she's just contained in like a little tiny cell. She's got room to run. I've also been experimenting with a special collar. There's this company called Spot On, and they sent me a couple of collars to sample. And so I'm trying to train her with that collar. It's actually somewhat similar to training her with the e-collar. Like, it lets you actually draw with like a GPS map online a border of the perimeter that she's allowed to be in, and then it kind of geo-fences her in. And so when she gets too close to the border, it starts beeping. And what I'm trying to do is just train her that when she hears that beep, that she knows to come back. And so she's learning that still. As soon as I get her fully trained with that collar, she will be up here by herself full time. And Toby Dog will be guarding the birds down the lower pasture. Abby will be guarding animals up here. You know, one of the biggest predator risks we have here on our farm are coyotes. And particularly as we have a new young calf on the farm, I do worry about the coyotes with that calf. Having Abby up here keeps the calf safer and really keeps my chickens safer, it keeps the whole herd safer, and it really expands the protective bubble that my dogs are putting around the farm. I still work really closely with Abby in getting her comfortable with things like the goslings. You know, if I'd put a gosling in front of her a year ago, it was no doubt or no question in my mind that she would just try to immediately bite that little thing's head off. Now, as she's gotten older, she'll give it a sniff and be a little bit curious, maybe want to try to play with it, but she also knows that she's not allowed to. to. And so while I wouldn't leave her with a bunch of goslings unsupervised, supervised, I feel pretty confident in letting her be around the goslings. At this point, Abby Dog has gotten to a place where she is officially a livestock guardian dog on our farm. I don't think she's necessarily ever going to be a great livestock guardian dog for poultry, but I think she could be a wonderful livestock guardian dog for working with the cattle, and I think she's going to do a great job working up here. And I'm really excited about what happens next for her. Now I know a lot of folks are gonna wonder, will I ever get a third dog for breeding with Toby? And honestly, I'm not sure if I'm ready for it yet. I wanna get Abby fully settled and situated, and then maybe I'll reevaluate and make some considerations, or maybe I'll just decide that I never wanna do it. Maybe I find a breeding match for Toby and I breed with somebody else and I just have him as a stud. We'll see. I think time will tell on that front. I'm actually still dealing with a whole bunch of Maremma Association paperwork problems in getting his final registration, but only time's gonna tell on this one. Come on, Abby Dog, it's time to move your cattle.